You are a Roman guard standing outside a sealed stone chamber in Alexandria. Inside is Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, Pharaoh, descendant of the Ptolemies, the most powerful woman in the Mediterranean world. For 7 days she has been locked inside. Sometimes you hear her moving, soft footsteps on stone, fabric shifting, occasionally her voice as though she is speaking to someone else, though she is alone. Before anything else, understand this. Almost everything popular history says about Cleopatra's death is wrong. The romantic tale of the asp in a basket of figs is likely fiction. The image of her drifting away peacefully in a royal bed is almost certainly invented. What truly unfolded between August 1 and August 12, 30 BCE was colder, slower, and far more deliberate. This is not mainly a story about suicide. It is a story about psychological warfare, about how Octavian attempted to dismantle Cleopatra before allowing her to die. The real question is not how she died, but why he needed 10 days to make it happen. Cleopatra had barricaded herself inside the tomb she built near the Temple of Isis, a 2-story stone structure designed like a fortress. Mark Antony lay bleeding outside after falling on his sword, tricked into believing Cleopatra was already dead. Octavian's troops were approaching. Antony's men begged her to open the doors. She refused. Opening them meant capture. Instead, ropes were lowered from the upper level, and Cleopatra and her attendants hauled Antony through a narrow opening in the stone while blood streaked the walls. He died in her arms. Minutes later, Octavian arrived, but he did not storm the tomb. He negotiated. While Cleopatra spoke through a slit in the stone, Roman soldiers climbed the exterior and slipped inside through the same opening used to retrieve Antony. She reached for a dagger. They tackled her, disarmed her, restrained her. Cassius Dio records her screaming that she would not be taken alive to Rome, but they had orders: keep her alive at any cost. She was moved to the palace and sealed inside a guarded room. That moment, August 1, was when the real operation began. Octavian had conquered Egypt, but politically he faced danger. He had just fought a civil war, Romans killing Romans. To stabilize his power, he needed to transform that conflict into something else. A war against a foreign enemy, against an Eastern queen who had corrupted Antony. Cleopatra had to become a symbol, not a multilingual diplomat or a skilled ruler, but an exotic seductress, a threat Rome had crushed. And above all, she had to appear alive in his triumph. Roman triumphs were ritual humiliation. Defeated rulers dragged through the streets, displayed, then executed. Cleopatra knew that formula. She would rather die. Octavian could not allow it. Her chamber was chosen carefully. 2nd floor, 1 door, 1 narrow window, guards day and night. Her clothing searched daily, her hair inspected, every possible tool of self-harm removed. But confinement alone was not the strategy. Octavian needed to break her desire for death. Cleopatra wanted to die because death meant dignity and control. Octavian had to reverse that instinct. He did so through her children. She had 4. Caesarion, Julius Caesar's biological son, 17 years old. Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, twins of 10, and the youngest 6. They were taken from her and held elsewhere in the palace. On August 2, Octavian sent a message. The children were safe for now, but their future depended entirely on Cleopatra's cooperation, and Caesarion in particular was in a delicate position. Cleopatra understood immediately. If she died, Caesarion would almost certainly be killed. Her dignity demanded death. Her children demanded survival. On August 3, architects arrived with measuring rods and wax tablets. They measured her height, her body, the dimensions of her limbs. When she asked why, they answered that the triumphal display had to be constructed properly. They returned day after day, discussing chains, clothing, jewelry, the visual effect of her humiliation as if planning an exhibit. This was not logistics. It was conditioning. Each visit reminded her what awaited in Rome. Each day Octavian balanced that horror with reports about her children, how Caesarion worried, how the younger ones asked after her. Cleopatra was isolated from her attendants Eras and Charmian, allowed only to hear faint echoes of voices through stone walls. She repeatedly asked to see her children and was refused. Sometimes she heard laughter drifting down corridors, close enough to torture her with uncertainty over whether it was real or staged. By August 7, she stopped eating. Guards reported it. Octavian did not force food into her mouth. Instead, he brought Caesarion. The boy begged her to take care of herself to live. That night she ate. On August 8, Octavian came himself. He offered her a bargain: walk in the triumph willingly, not in chains, retain some dignity, and all her children would live, including Caesarion. If she refused, Caesarion would die when she did, and the others might follow. Cleopatra asked for time. Octavian gave her 3 days. He was offering her not escape, but justification, a way to believe humiliation was sacrifice for her children. Something changed on August 11. The sources are unclear, but Cleopatra appears to have realized the truth. Caesarion would be killed regardless. The promises were theater. She asked to visit Antony's tomb to make offerings before leaving for Rome. Octavian agreed. Inside, under guard, she prayed and poured libations and retrieved a small hidden vial she had concealed earlier. Back in her chamber, she requested figs. The guards searched the basket and found nothing suspicious. The legend of the snake likely grew from that moment, but ancient writers like Strabo doubted it. Poison hidden earlier makes far more sense. On the morning of August 12, the guards heard nothing unusual. When they opened the door, Cleopatra lay dead on a golden couch dressed in royal regalia. Eras was dead at her feet. Charmian, barely alive, was adjusting the diadem on Cleopatra's head. When a guard asked whether this was well done, Charmian replied that it was fitting for a descendant of kings, and then died. Cleopatra was 39. This was not despair. It was a final assertion of control. Octavian had tried to trap her between dignity and motherhood, to make survival rational and surrender acceptable. Her death was her refusal. "You may take my kingdom," she seemed to say, "but you will not parade me." Octavian still won. He carried a statue of Cleopatra in his triumph, complete with a snake clinging to her arm, and that image became the version remembered for 2,000 years. Caesarion was hunted down and killed weeks later. The younger children were paraded instead of their mother and raised in Rome under watchful eyes, never allowed to return to Egypt. Cleopatra died believing her sacrifice might protect them. It did not. All it secured was the manner of her death. Those 10 days reveal how power worked at its most systematic. Isolate, threaten what someone loves, promise mercy you never intend to grant, measure them for humiliation, and when they deny you their body, control the story anyway. Cleopatra chose the only thing Octavian could not take from her, the decision itself. Whether that was victory or merely defiance is the question that echoes across 2,000 years.